Good evening, Astros fans. And hey, what an evening it is. We are officially in the 2026 season, and the Astros have a W finally for the season. So here we go. Welcome to the Crawford Box Recap. I'm one of your hosts, Homer Chris. I've got Browse here, and today I've had to pull some strings, do some favors that I cannot mention on air, but we were able to pull in the man, the myth, the legend. He is one of the co-hosts of the Locked On Astros podcast, Brett Chansey. Brett, how's it going tonight? Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, man. No, definitely. It is good to join. Eric and I typically are off on the Friday and Saturday night. Gives us a little reprieve to get ready for the week on Locked On. But I figured why not join the party? I love you guys. I love what y'all are doing. You're growing. Hey, just let you know, man. I see more and more people watching live while y'all are on and catching views. So if this is your first time catching these guys, definitely stick around. They do great work.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I really appreciate
trying. That. Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, let's go ahead and break down to, the brass tacks. We came into this game. The offense was kind of anemic. Well, not kind of. The offense was anemic. Jordan really was either hitting home runs or hitting balls off the top of the rafters, which came foul. And, you had a team yesterday that ambushed Mike Burrows. Tonight, we were kind of hoping for maybe a reset on the series since this is a 4-game series. And then, Christian Javier came out and he was a little wild today. He had 4 walks, gave up 6 earned runs, and then it kind of looked like, oh boy, here we go again. The Astros again, leading up until they had that big, I believe it was the sixth inning where they put up an 8 spot. It was 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position. It was kind of like we got a runner on second, and then something would happen. They would, the few things I saw kind of going into some of these at bats was like, man, they would chase balls outside of the zone, and then they would look at of course, maybe it's easier for us on watching it. That ball's right down the middle, and they're watching it. But yeah. So before we get into the big offensive explosion in the 6th inning, Browse, and then we'll get Brett's take on it. What were you guys kind of looking at real quick?
The one thing that I was definitely worried about was Javier coming in after seeing him in spring training. The biggest thing with spring training was the fact that after his injury, he came back, he rehabbed. We got to see very limited use of him last year. And then he comes into spring, and the fastest his fastball ever hit was one time at 93 miles an hour. So I was very concerned on his velocity coming in and what his pitch mix was actually going to be. And that actually did turn into a little bit of a problem, which we talked about. And then, Chris and I were going back and forth via text, and I'm like, dude, yeah, this is an issue. He did give up 5 runs tonight. At that point, with our offense not doing exactly what we've hoped and seen from late spring training and these guys getting ramped up, it's like, it's been super frustrating. But to be honest with you, I think the problem was me. I was at the game on opening day, and I was at the game last night. And then guess what? I wasn't there tonight. So there you go.
Well, you're.
I wasn't going to say it, but I was going to kind of lean into it.
Hey, look, he's officially at least banned for the first half of the season. But only,
fair enough.
But only pre-All-Star break. What was interesting about this game is it just seemed like the Astros offense is doing or was doing what it was going to or expected to do this year. But what wasn't happening was the first 2 pitchers that went up were supposed to have success. We knew Javier was going to be a bit of a question mark. He only induced 6 swings and misses tonight. His invisible is definitely invisible. I don't think it exists anymore. And that may be a simple mechanical and post-surgery and post-injury issue. It may not be necessarily Javier's fault, because when you have surgery, when you have issues and you come back and you have to change the way you throw, you don't have the same stuff, i.e. Lance McCullers, right? So, man, the Astros did what they had to do tonight, though. They exploited mistakes. They finally got Detmers out of the game. And these are the games you have to win. These are the games that you should win. But you know what? You know what the Astros may have done this series? They may have woken up Mike Trout. And Mike Trout may be I think he's in the midst of another MVP type candidacy year. He looks healthy. He's full strength. And he may be one of the few bright spots for the Angels in 2026. I mean, I'm not saying they're schlubs, but I don't think the Angels will be battling for the AOS title when it's all said and done.
No, I think you brought up a really good point in the fact that, man, it seems like every time the Angels are doing something, whether it's offensively, Trout had another, dive and catch tonight in center field. Like Trout has been at the forefront of everything positive so far that the Angels have been able to do for the first I guess we could call it 2.5 games. Because we're about to get into the big, massive sixth inning where, I mean, I don't want to go out and say that, oh man, I felt like they were on the precipice of this offense exploding. I mean, really, like when I saw it was 6-0, I was like, man, that might as well be like 17-16-0, the way this offense is. And then all of a sudden they got runners on base, and I was like a little jaded. I was like, oh man, here we go. They're going to get my hopes up again. And then everything just kind of blew open. I mean, like you got clutch hits. They were very reminiscent of the Astros teams that we've seen in the past years, where it didn't matter if there was 1 outs, 2 outs, especially with 2 outs. I feel like there were times in the past they were more dangerous with runners on base and 2 outs, and we saw a little bit of that. We saw a little bit of everything in that 6th inning. They put up 8 runs. They bat around the order. Like even my wife was like, "Loperfito's back up the hit again." I'm like, "Yeah, it's been a long inning. They've actually scored a bunch of runs and got on base." So, what excited you the most? Obviously, the big offensive output, but for you guys, I mean, what really kind of like was there one single thing that you guys saw, or was it just the fact that, praise the Lord, the offense is awake now?
The two guys that I thought, the two guys I wanted to see actually did hit. So we've seen Christian Walker actually in this series perform, and that's been fantastic. I think that is the one thing the Astros needed to get the season started, is to see Christian Walker actually perform. The second one was, how excited I've been about Joey Loperfito coming back to this team. He started the first game, he got 2 hits. And then, he went swinging for the fences last night, but tonight he performed as well. So I think you're going to see him probably in a starting role. And I think that their offense between those two guys, especially moving forward, is going to be super, super important. But they definitely contributed in this game. And I look forward to seeing them coming up, hopefully in the lineup, depending on what Espada does, coming up super soon.
Well, for me, it was Yainer Diaz getting a hit. I mean, it was only 85 mile an hour off the bat, but he got a single. And I mean, the guy is just being rained on right now. I mean, the fan base is like, get this guy out of here. It's like Maldonado 2.0, but worse. And I know Yainer's going through it, and having had an ongoing conversation with him in the last 3 off seasons, and knowing how much he works and how much he cares about his craft, I love to see it. I also love to see the Astros scored in ways that only the Astros can score. I mean, who else can hit the ball a foot and a negative 69-degree angle, right? And a 68.4 exit velocity and score 2 runs? None other than Carlos Correa or a Houston Astro. I mean, that's just the way things get done in Houston. It's blue collar, it's H-Town. That's who we are. But I feel like everybody contributed in the lineup. And that's what you need, because if you get 3 or 4 of these guys going at the same time, this offense can be explosive. And they didn't do that the first 2 games. Yeah. I'm sorry. Soriano comes out, deals, but you get to the bullpen, you do nothing. You get to the bullpen yesterday, you do nothing. Today you get to the bullpen and you absolutely wreck shop. And that's what the Astros have to do, because we've seen the pitching is not always going to be perfect. I'm assuming that Brown and Burrows will perform better next time out. I'm hoping Javier will perform better the next time out. But this is what happens when you bring back one guy from the staff and have a bunch of new guys, essentially, your guys coming back from injuries where you don't really know what you got on the mound. So they took care of their opportunities and they exploited the defense. They took advantage of the errors that the Angels made, and that's what baseball is. Whether it's luck or not, it's how many runs you have. If you have more than the other team, it doesn't matter how you won.
Oh, there you go. 100%, 100%. All right, so let's go ahead and transition to what we saw from the pitcher side. Now we talked about, Christian Javier was, less than stellar today. I'm not gonna lie, Tank looked fantastic tonight. He gave you two
Heck
and a
yeah, he
third,
did.
one walk, two strikeouts. I mean, but like when he came in, like it's kind of like he held the game, even though it wasn't a close game at the time when he came in. But it's like, man, Tang, I have just been extremely impressed with Tang all throughout spring training, and I think this tonight was the first night he actually, we saw him in an Astros in a regular season game. We saw that Brian King kind of struggled a little bit, but man, I guess my next question coming out is seeing Brian Abreu go out there and give away that 3-run home run. How does that like how do you guys feel about that? Does that kind of like not give you the warm and fuzzy when you see him pitch, or was it one of those, why was he out there? We were up, by like 5 runs. And it was just to get him some work. And, of course, he gave up the 3-run home run. How are you guys feeling about Abreu, his kind of shaky outing tonight?
I'm going to say it was an anomaly. And the reason I say that is, Brian Abreu is a good pitcher. We know that he is. He has been a fantastic setup guy. At the end of last season, he was a great closer. But you have to understand the mentality of the closer and what you're going into. These guys go ramped up like they have just like shotgunned a Red Bull and then hit a smelling salts, and they're running out on the field and ready to just throw as hard and as fast as they can to get 3 outs. When you're up 11-5, your mentality isn't exactly that same thing. So it's, the fact that he, missed one pitch, gave up a 3-run home run. All right, fine. There probably shouldn't have been 2 runners on base, but at the same time, it is what it is. We still won the game. I'm not going to worry about it. Now, on the box score, and like if you look at him in stats, it's not going to be pretty. But let me tell you, he's going to go ahead and turn this thing around. I seriously don't think this is a big deal at all. People will make a big deal about it because we still have Hader right now on the IL. He's not coming back for, at least a couple of weeks. So we'll see what happens with that. But honestly, I don't think that big of a deal.
So, yeah, that's the thing. I think the reason why you immediately worry about it simply because actually the Astros let us know, I believe it was on opening day, that Hader's probably not even going to start throwing to people until the beginning of May. He's really been set back, like he's been pushed back quite a bit. So, but I am not here to sound the alarm for Brian Abreu. Because like you said, I think he's set to make one of the largest contracts, I think, in Major League history for a setup man, a relief pitcher, because of, you just look at his, I hate to say it, look at the back of his baseball card, okay? I know everybody hates that and feels like that's like a bad thing. But, in baseball, all you have is what you've done, right? And all he's done is be one of the most dependable guys in the pen. It's one outing. It's, he's gonna go. He's gonna look at the tape. He's gonna look at his pitch locations. He's gonna look at his pitch mix, and he's gonna do what he can to induce more swings and misses. I think it's only right for them to put him in the game, because if you keep waiting until you have a close game, then he's just sitting there. He's sitting on the shelf. He's getting cobwebs. He needs to get in there. I would rather him be stressed now and work into trouble and get into trouble now and figure it out than go great and skate through the regular season and all of a sudden become this kind of Brian Abreu in September, October, when you really, really need it. So early mistakes are fine with me. Now, if it's a pattern over a month, it's still not a concern. It's so early because, look, go back and look at guys, how they perform month to month, right? Christian Walker, Horrible first half last year. Great second half. You know what? He's actually started out pretty darn good this half. So, if people want to keep going back to Christian Walker in the first half of last season, that's fine. I don't know about you. I drive with a windshield. I don't drive through my rearview mirror.
Amen.
No, I mean, I agree. So I guess one quick question before we transition to tomorrow's pitching matchups. Do you think, with tomorrow's matchup coming up, and let's just say we have a close game and it comes down to maybe a save situation, was it foolish to bring Abreu in tonight? Or is it one of those he's got to get work. We can't keep him on the shelf just in case we may need him in a save situation tomorrow. So, because I was kind of thinking, what if you need Abreu tomorrow? Now he's throwing, I think he threw like 20 something pitches tonight. So
Yeah,
I would
26.
assume that he's probably not going to be available for tomorrow. So who comes in a save situation and locks it down? Hopefully we get out of this series with a 2-2 split.
I will argue the fact that he probably is available tomorrow, but on a limited availability. At the same time, this is always a great debate. It's like, do you bring your closer in just because the guy needs work and he needs to see live action, as opposed to trying to give him like a simulated bullpen or something like that really doesn't mean much. Because like I was saying, you have to have that intensity, the feel of kind of the situation of the game. So, I understand the reason why Espada said, hey, let's go ahead and bring him in. Let's go ahead and give him some work because he needs some work. We're on game 3. Nothing's happened. Honestly, I don't know what his workload looked like prior to that. Obviously, we had a day off between those two Sugarland games at Minute Maid Park. So who knows? I mean, he might have been sitting around for a while and literally just needed to throw some pitches and get some game time situations. But at the same time, I think he's going to have limited work tomorrow at best. Even if he doesn't, I do see AJ Blueball coming in and actually stepping in as our, closer as of now, if Abreu is not available. So we'll see how that goes. I think that, we've talked about this on the podcast. I think that that's a fantastic guy to have in that situation. I would rather see AJ Blueball be in high-level situations in the bullpen right now than see him starting, which is what he was doing in AAA. So, keep this guy going, convert him to a reliever just like he is right now, and put him in these high-stress situations and see what happens.
Yeah, I think you've got someone like AJ Blueball. You also now Stephen O'Kurt threw 20 pitches. He did have 3 strikeouts and 1 2/3 innings against this lineup. So that's definitely a good sign. I think you got between O'Kurt, between King, and between Blueball. I think you have pretty much 4 guys on this roster that legitimately, if they need to be called upon, that they could be closer. Now, I don't know that every single one of them fits the role of your prototypical closer, but if it's spot closing and if it's, hey, we need you tonight, he's not ready to go, he's gassed, I think any one of those 4 would take the ball. But man, I love Brian King. Brian King is, I don't even notice, the dude's yoked. The dude is a freaking beast. And I mean, his story to the bigs and, how he got here and who he is. I think Brian King is one of the more underappreciated relief pitchers, lefties, in all of Major League Baseball. So I wouldn't mind them going King. Like you said, Abreu, if they bring him in, I think it would be very limited. He would probably face at least his minimum. But yeah, you've got other guys, and I think you had to give Abreu work, right? You give him work now. Hopefully it works out for you tomorrow. You may not need him tomorrow. If you don't need him tomorrow, then you've got a day rest. Now you've got him ready. He's been in the game. You got the Red Sox coming to town. So that right there is huge to have him ready for that. So maybe he doesn't because the Red Sox are right back here at Dyken Park Monday.
Yeah, speaking about Dyken Park and speaking about tomorrow, Brett, I see you're rocking the super sweet looking cherry blossom Astros hat. So why don't you
Yes.
remind the world, who do we have throwing tomorrow
Oh,
for our Houston
oh man.
Astros?
Well, Tatsuya Imai is making his major league debut on the mound tomorrow. This Japanese pitcher went toe to toe with Yoshi Yamamoto in the NPB and actually won. This guy's got some really big swing and miss stuff. I know a lot of people are concerned about maybe the plane or the shape of some of his breaking pitches, but the way he throws the ball up high and inside into right-handed hitters, I really think it could cause troubles for someone like Mike Trout or some of these guys, Zach Neto. At the end of the day, it's exciting because ever since he came here, he's like, "What's up, H-Town?" He's tried to get into it. He's been to the Texans game, he's been to the Rockets game, and I think everybody's excited. And I think it's perfect setup for him to come in after a win. Why not come in, shove, go 6, go 7 strong innings, put up a 0, the offense back you up, and give this guy his first win. I like his stuff. I think his stuff plays. The only thing is, if his pitches are flat, he is susceptible to the long ball. So I think he's going to give up some long balls this year. But if they're solo shots, I'm not so worried about it. So I'm excited. I think we got some good things to look forward to with Tatsuya Imai.
Yeah, I mean, I know that we're super excited. I know Benjamin's super excited to see him pitch tomorrow. So, and pretty much like I said, the almost rock star fandom he's gotten since he's signed with the Astros.
Yeah.
I'm pretty positive that the entire city of Houston is very excited to see this man pitch tomorrow. So
I can verify that.
So that's going to be it for tonight. Okay. Yeah. So that's going to wrap us up tonight. We're not going to go too late. This is just a recap. So again, I want to thank Mr. Brett Chansey from Locked On Astros for joining us tonight. Guys, if you've enjoyed this, we will be back again tomorrow for our regularly scheduled podcast. And once again, I'm Homer Chris. I'm here with Bryles, and we are here with our very special guest from Locked On Astros, Brett Chansey. We are the Crawford Chronicles, and this has been your Crawford Box